So for the record, Senator Pat Brennan, are we on?
Great, we're on. Welcome everybody to Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. It is Friday and it is March 27th. Time is marching on, and today we're beginning the day looking at some amendments to S-198, our nicotine addiction and young people bill, trying to reduce our consumer protection bill, trying to further protect our young people from addiction to nicotine, and we are also going to be looking at cannabis amendments, cannabis bill. So we welcome Senator Brennan. Welcome, Pat.
Thank you. So as I previously stated, when we looked at this bill and appropriations, thing that glared right out the bat was the increase in fines to the clerk for the first offense for selling to an underage student, going from $100 fine to $1,000. And that's my main focus. I was laser focused on that, and in the process, unintentionally asked Jen to strip out the fines for second, third, fourth, fifth violations in section B of the bill, which I'm okay
with reinstating.
Right. My main focus is on the 100 to 1,000.
So with that, we're, I think, all clear on that now.
Yes.
Do you mind taking 1 sec to let Andy present his, because you have a meeting, Andy? You have to leave.
And I have it, so I have to see.
Aren't you both in the same meeting?
We don't have a committee. It's meeting.
Oh, do you mind waiting for 1 sec?
Not at all.
Andy, hop on in. And Pat, there's a seat right behind you.
I'm good here. That's okay with you.
Senator Birchland, welcome. It's good to have you in our committee, although we're a little cross with you.
Butcher of appropriation.
The butcher of economic development.
Senator Brennan is on.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
The butchers, we have 2 of them. Now, if we can hold the rest of them captive, we might get economic development finance in this thing. Okay. Andy, welcome.
Thank you. Just trying to find.
We have your amendment right here if you want to see it.
Okay. Thanks, then.
Would that be easier?
Yeah.
I think we have it right here. You do?
So.
Yeah, it's right here.
So you'll notice it's a little different. There was not support to move the bill out of committee. So we're going to have a committee report without recommendation.
What?
Yeah.
Just nobody's support the concept that our young people are alarmingly getting increasingly addicted to
I think
nicotine.
there's probably support for that. We didn't talk about that specifically.
That's the purpose of the bill.
Yeah, there was parts of the bill that they didn't like, so they didn't want to vote for it with recommendation, with a favorable recommendation. So we did it without recommendation. And you can't amend the bill that you want to pass out without recommendation. So we have a report that's without recommendation, and then we will. I think there's, I think Secretary Bloomer said we have to do something else on the count. So the order is a little weird. So we will present our non-recommendation. Then I think we have we'll vote on like the finance amendment, and then we'll have the appropriation committee members that were present that day selected. So the vote to pass it without recommendation was a 5-3-2 or not 5-3-2. And then
That is disappointing. What were the sections that were thorniest for you? I mean, the purpose of this bill. So
there was a specific concern about the fines to clerks that sell.
yes, we're addressing that.
That was I think the main concern.
For that, we're going to sink the whole incredibly important purpose of this consumer protection bill.
The position.
Okay.
That was.
We'll hope the
but
senators have a different view.
Well, if they wanted to sink the bill, there was other ways. The bill passed out of committee. They didn't try to like kill it. They just didn't want to support it at that moment without some changes. So it was easier to get it out of committee without recommendation. But then all the members that were present support the amendment, which is typical appropriation.
Pat's amendment or your?
There's an amendment from members of the committee, of which I'm listed first. And all the committee members, the 3 that were there, or the 4 that were there, voted.
That's what we have in front of us.
Yeah.
First, like,
There's 5.
everybody.
Okay, it's not everybody.
In the calendar it has more.
Okay, great.
There's 2 missing.
Great. So what do you support and what are you deleting?
we're deleting the appropriations. We're deleting the one, if I remember correctly, there's one appropriation for a position, am I remembering correctly?
Yeah.
And then there is the money that, the other parts that we deleted were the parts where you're taking money for the general fund, or money that could end up in the general fund if you were moving into the tobacco fund. And so we didn't want to do that without considering the budget implications of this.
So that could be alive in play as you do the puzzle of the budget.
Definitely will be part of it.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't have the dollar figures at that time.
Do you have them now? Did
No.
Ted give you, I mean, you're waiting till we're,
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
wait later, but. And we did find out at the time, we also weren't sure where they were exactly going, but I did get some Ted details on where all these funds are going, all these fees. The funds collected are going now. And there was always a connection back to the general fund, so that's why we struck section 2 and 3.
okay, so that's appropriations and the general fund mode. The third is deleting the investigator.
Yeah,
So last time, this is sort of like this wicked catch-22. Last time the governor vetoed the bill because there wasn't enforcement. Now we've embedded enforcement in this bill and you're not supporting it. Even though we hope that will be the piece that the governor supports.
we're not saying we're not supporting it, we're saying that we don't support it,
Yet.
tying up the money.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thanks. You don't support it yet.
Yeah, right. We
That's a
might
big
support it. And we could support it, but we just don't support the money for it. We find the money somewhere else. but we-
I keep working the treasurer's office to find that money in the trees. We've had a little, but okay. Right? And
Yeah, so this is amendment for me, Baruth, Brennan, Norris, Western.
Ginny, I assume voted.
She was
Or-
there. She wasn't there, neither
aren't
was
the
Senator
advocate.
Watson and Lyons were the rest of it. And we had to get it out for this.
Okay. Gosh. Where were those two? We needed those two. Okay, so your fourth instance is technical.
Any second change.
Okay,
And the first instance is also related to this second amendment. First and second are doing the same.
okay. So you keep prohibiting devices and stuff.
Yeah.
You keep
All that's,
all that.
it's only the sticks that affect the general.
So there, something's.
We left more in this bill than your last bill, so we're trending in the right way.
Listen, but I learned an important lesson from last, so that was good going forward. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Gosh, I don't know. Okay, well, thank you. We will just grin and bear it.
Okay,
So Pat, now you having been so tough on our bill, now you want us to change something and you want it to pass.
Yes, in your words, Madam Chair. Yes. And the reason I was one of the, obviously,
Yeah,
dissenters
no,
in the bill,
I get it.
and for that main reason, as a former convenience store owner and knowing a lot of the people in the business, those initial fines on, was it 1007? In section 8 just hit me like it stood right out. And
Yeah, of course.
And if I may tell you a little story, do we have time?
Of course.
All I could think about was the 16-year-old clerk, young lady that was a valedictorian, actually, at VHS working for me, friend of the family, was a victim of a sting. And it was traumatic for her. I don't mean to belittle it at all. She was, the guy comes in with a badge and boom, you did this, you did that, and she was traumatized. She quit. It was the first offense I had, the only offense I should say in 20 years, but she didn't go to school for 3 days. I mean, they really hit her hard because it's a scary thing for a 16-year-old kid. And I paid her fine. I think it was $100 back then. And we learned a lesson. And since then, things have evolved in education, and to get your license, everybody has to have a thing on file. They've been to a class, and things have changed and, so that's the story on that. And it's not the only story. There are many stories out there. It's hard enough to find a clerk these days at any age.
But
And to go,
do you remember when that was?
that
Roughly.
was probably in 1996 or 8 maybe, or early 2000s, 20
It's
years.
a long time ago.
It was a
20
while
years
ago. However, this is on the clerk. And there was a little confusion over who paid the fine or who was actually fined, and it is the clerk. At $1,000, even if it was to the establishment, I can only tell you, if I still own my business now with a little mom and pop, not much bigger than some of the rooms in here, I couldn't afford $1,000 as the owner of the establishment. That's pretty hefty. I think when you get that initial, especially when you're looking at subsequent offenses, which I would be happy to put back in, my amendment doesn't state that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're facing $1,000, $2,000, a $3,500, and a $5,000 for subsequent offenses, your eyes are open to the issue, and you're educating further your staff.
Right.
As to the situations that.
So I appreciate I particularly appreciate you withdrawing the subsequent penalties. Thank you. We'll reinstate those.
Have a new draft.
Oh, good.
Amendment.
Do you want to should we put it up to make sure? But I guess what I would ask two questions of you, and do you guys have any questions before I have? Don't mean to dive in.
All I can say is we saw this coming, and the SWAT voted against it, in the committee voted against this bill. The
David,
fees,
yeah.
the penalties, huge consequences, which is what we're talking about. The bill was riddled with shock value items that needed to be dampened down a bit. That's now what we're doing, but it's the 9th hour.
So I appreciate that. We've addressed the penalties in some ways to address your concern, which is good. And some of the consequences. I would ask two things. One, since that time, I don't think this fee has increased for many years. I would wonder if you were willing to at least support increasing the fee to $150 or $200, which would just keep pace with some of the inflation of the cost of things. That's one question. You could think about that. And the second is I also have heard, because this is a way for young people to actually access some of this stuff. When we're looking at some of the SIV holes in how are young people getting these things. Sadly, we also know of young people taking on clerk jobs just so that they can enable some of this. So, I mean, I know that there are a lot of great clerks, but I also know that there are a lot of very smart young people who, if they want something, they know have very clever ways of figuring out how to do it. So I would say that balance, there's probably a little bit of a balance there. I also think the plus of having a consequence, as David would call it, is that hopefully with the education they get and knowing that this penalty is their fee, they will just be more attentive. I mean, that's really what we're wanting. We're just wanting, I think, particularly with the clerks, to be more attentive and appreciate what they're enabling when they sell to underage kids.
Understood. And I'm with you on that. And I don't have to think a whole lot about it. I mean, times have changed, and this was many years ago, and I don't know how many years that fine has been. I'm guessing 20 years or so.
Todd, do you know how long?
I don't know offhand. It's for the Attorney General's office. I don't know, but I can check in on.
Yeah, I have to do the legislative.
So, yeah,
Would you be willing to go to 150?
sure.
Because I think definitely to increase that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And then keeping the
That's
subsequent
reasonable.
penalties.
Yes, sorry about that. I was so laser focused on the $100 penalty fine. I can
Or laser
focus
focused
on
on
that.
things we have experience with, and you've had a tough experience with that.
Yes.
Thomas, as the reporter.
Yeah, so we do have planned another committee amendment, I'm pretty sure, on the fake IDs. You're more than welcome to do this, but would you want us to just fold that into the amendment we're already gonna do, or do you wanna speak
Yeah.
today?
Would you mind? And then we'd
I
have
would
to.
mind it all.
Okay,
Mind it all.
so, great. Take that
Okay.
amendment to 150 and we just put it in that other amendment that we're doing.
That would be great.
Okay, keeping the subsequent penalties, raising the impact on the clerk to 150. And then,
The fake ID thing is what we're gonna,
and we have, you already voted on that, right?
no, we have not.
You haven't, okay.
Saved it for you, Madam Chair.
Not again.
Roberta never told me who's on it. It's just Senator Blank, Senator Collins.
Okay, so this is what came out of your finance discussion. Pat, are you okay if we move to that also, and so you know what it will be included with? Are you okay with if we move to the discussion of what that came out of finance discussion in terms
Yeah.
of the penalties?
Yeah.
Okay, Thomas, would you be kind enough to,
Sure. Then I'll also just say I fully support what Senator Brennan said arguing for, and that came up. Senator Cummings had a personal experience where one of her loved ones was a teenager, sold some cigarettes or alcohol or something to somebody, and it caused all sorts of grief. So I think it makes sense to soften this down to wherever we are now. What also came up is from, I think maybe Senator Brock. Would you like to speak to the fake ID discussion in finance? I think might fit better.
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right. I don't recall specific arguments from any individual, but the fact that we are right now in the bill that's on the floor, eliminating a consequence for teenagers who are caught possession, use, and purchasing. We're eliminating those. For an argument that I think we're persuasive, but we also in that are eliminating if a underage individual presents a fake ID, which the argument was that's intention to deceive, and there needs to be consequences for such intentional ways to circumvent the law. So I believe what finance was proposing was just to reinstate that penalty for youth, to not strike that out. Does that capture what you recall? Jen, anything I missed there?
Jen Kirby, Legislative Council, that was the, I think, a discussion you had and then brought back in here from finance. There's separate finance.
Right.
there is?
Yes.
Yes, we changed the $1,000. That was, I'm going to present the bill today saying that was a placeholder. And basically have some finance have that discussion. We set it to not be $1,000, but instead it's licensing fees. Now we're talking licensing fees for retailers. To not be $1,000, but instead to be $150, which is an inflation adjustment to as well as $75. There was a lot of strong opinions on that, and it was a 4-1-2 vote. For 4-2-1 vote for various reasons. But that was where we
Part of the idea, the 150 or thereabouts was that we looked at other states, particularly surrounding states, what kind of penalties they imposed. Their position was somewhere in the figure.
So we're still wrong.
Raise on the basis of inflation of where we are now. That's how we have.
Yeah, no, that's why I asked Pat. Been a long, when we used to do the fee bill, we would have seen this in Ways and Means because we had a 3-year schedule. In the old days, we had a 3-year schedule of the fee bill, and we would have known when that fee was last raised. But it sounds like it's been quite a while, and so I think it absolutely is appropriate for it to be raised a bit.
I do still see a lot of merit in all that this bill is doing, which is shifting it over to DLL and also separating alcohol and tobacco license. So I still support the trajectory. So I don't think it costs that much. But
I agree.
It's really the $1,000 is really what drove a lot of discussion by it. So
Well,
it's just pure because
It's a little eye popping. Yeah. So do we have this draft? If you want to walk us.
So you're talking about a lot of different pieces right now, so
Okay.
I've been a little
So we have
clarity.
Pat Brennan's piece,
Yes,
which is
putting
raising,
yours.
which is gonna be absorbed into ours.
Yes, so just to kind of go back to the beginning, we had the amendment out of here. There's the finance proposal,
Which is separate.
just increasing the licensing fees and adding the license fee for wholesale dealers. I don't know if you mentioned that, I got a call from the school that freaked me out for a second, but we're all good.
Oh,
So this adds a wholesale licensure fee that is the same as the wholesale licensure fee for liquor license. That was a proposal from the department that finance accepted. And then make just, I think, a sort of a technical update to change language around a non-criminal penalty from a fine to a penalty. That's all in the finance amendment. And then there's a Kirchlich amendment that takes out, Kirchlich and others, that takes out the direction of licensing fees, penalties, and settlement monies into the tobacco trust fund, and eliminates the investigator position and the report. And now we're talking about this committee's amendment, which would be incorporating the Brennan amendment with the increase to 150. And we've got the purchase, use, and possession
for the
fees,
clerk.
putting back the penalty for the using false identification purchase for underage,
And the consequence for that is what? What's the amount?
$50, I believe.
That to me is inadequate.
It's a lot of teenagers, 50, you want to, sure, support raising it, but $1,000 to a teenager.
$1,000 is stiff. But I and the same argument. I think that that's been there for a long time. I think a consequence has to be a consequence. And if you're going to use a fake ID, that's very intentional.
Yeah, you gotta
Sorry,
make
but
it-
it is.
It's like a relative to the age bracket. Or it just reverts to the parents. In this case, 50, 25, 50, 100, that's a big money for a, out of 1,000. That's just, again, we're trying to find, kind of the edge between emotional and pragmatic. And I think we're still leaning in the edge of emotional. We just need to keep consequence, make it significant enough to get the attention of youth, but not overdo it because we're being pulled by emotions.
I would argue that $100 penalty would have be more impactful than $50 in this day and age when people are, when people get allowances and they're much more than what we all got as allowances. And I think sadly inflation would make an impact fee of $100 actually impactful as opposed to.
Yeah, that's fine. I heard someone say 1,000 in that
Yeah.
same link, that same paragraph, someone said 1,000, and that is,
No, I think
Inappropriate.
100 means that parents, we would hope, would say, this is on you. And this is not something I'm bailing you out of. And a kid could work that off.
I'm just trying to contain this
Yeah.
explosion of emotion around this issue. Just kind of bring it right back to the table and say, how much is enough? Who needs the attention? Who's getting the attention?
Do we have a consensus among your
What if we did 75?
Whatever, 7,500, either is fine.
I think we have a
1,000
consensus on 100.
ridiculous.
I'm at 100 because it is me even to a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get an allowance, and I think 75 now is probably like 3 hours of babysitting for somebody, like it's,
That's good. That's intentional. I mean, kids are getting paid $25 an hour.
right, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, 100 feels like a lot.
Thomas, what are your
I
kids have an allowance?
paid for half that, your kids are cute.
Well, you would, okay, I mean,
So do your kids get an allowance or how does this fit into that?
It's, your children is.
Yeah. So, I mean, $100 would be something they could work for. Yeah, okay.
My kids don't smoke though.
Thank-
Yes, they're watching this.
I will say, I mean, when we have had these discussions on Ways and Means and Finance, we have moved the needle on smoking for middle and upper class families. We have not moved the needle on smoking for lower income people. That is proven out again and again. So I've never supported, tobacco tax increases to just fill budget holes. I think it's one thing to raise the cost of a pack of cigarettes or a vape so that product is out of reach for somebody. But, if they're using a fake ID to get tobacco, they're probably addicted. So, I don't want to say like there's just allowance money, that's probably not what we're talking about here.
It's a consequence though. And
I just don't want it to be said there's consensus on it.
If my kids, you think I need to try to buy tobacco, I'd want them to get $100 fine.
Yeah.
So,
Me too.
but they better not. Just in case they're watching this.
That's the second. So, support on $100 fee. 4 1. Oh, you don't need to know that.
Um,
You need to know that.
so
Well, I mean, I don't think that's a vote you have to report. It's part of the bigger amendment.
So I have 3 instances of amendment. The third one is really sort of a technical conforming one, but I want to, up here, you
Thank
Tell
you,
me
Jen.
to
You
all.
can make it a tiny bit bigger.
can tell me who wants to be.
So I'm reporting the bill, the finance amendment. I'm happy to yield to anybody else, but if you'd like me to also do this one, I can fold it.
I'm not gonna say anything. If we address these issues, I don't have intention to say anything. It's covered.
Great. So,
So should I?
getting in and Brock from finance, that would make the most sense. What about the two of you?
Okay, why don't I show you what's in it and you can decide who wants to be on.
I can also just have Senator Blank do it. I like that guy.
So we have in, first instance is putting back in just the penalty for misrepresenting age. To purchase tobacco products, and so it continues, so we take out all of 1000, section 1005 in Title 7, but then we put it back in. Still striking, the possession piece and purchase, but keeping in the part about misrepresenting by presenting false ID, and you can see the penalty would increase from $50 to $100, and clarifying that that's still brought in the same manner as the traffic violation, which the language above said that this one didn't. That, I think that, okay. I think that's still accurate. And then, second instance is the one you talked about with Senator Brennan. So I put back in, now we're in section 1007 and we're striking out subsection A in its entirety because we're changing the 100 isn't going to 1,000, it's going to 150 for a first offense. And then we're keeping all of the rest of the language that leads into the new revised subdivision B2. So the rest of it is the same that's in yours, as voted out of this committee. And then the third one is related to the technical one that is just amending the jurisdiction of the Judicial Bureau, because violations of 1005 now relate only to misrepresentation of age. And that is it.
Thomas and David and Randy, Keisha. Okay.
Would you like to report it, sir, or do you want me to?
Either one. It's, you were on it originally,
Okay,
either one.
I'll do it. And then I'll just fold it into my floor speech. It might be on.
Yeah, that way it's done once and it'll be faster. But
Okay.
you're out sick all.
So on just a straw poll, it sounds like Keisha, where are you on this amendment?
I'm fine with the amendment.
Okay, great. So Thomas, you have a committee
Only Senator
support.
Chitten's name for default.
I think Chittenden and Brock, the two finance people who are on finance, it came from finance, so. And, right.
It would be odd to have the whole committee on a.
We had both committee on a couple other amendments.
It's gonna be an odd bill.
Great. Perfect timing. We are set. The amendment needs to go up to,
Yes, I will send it to Sarah and Senator Chittenden
and we'll take it up at a moment when you have a moment. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, good work. Only a fool doesn't change their mind. And the House will, of course, have at it. So we will see. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you all.
Thank you, AG's office. Thank you, AG intern. Good to have you.
My pleasure.
Yeah. We should have asked you about the
Tell me where
penalty.
you make.
Yeah, what
I don't need-
$100 is meaningful, don't you
Pay
think?
$100.
See, the fake ID is like $100.
If you make me.
Oh, a fake ID is $100. Oh my God,
That's
have
zero.
you got to find $100 then. We should have done two. Okay, I know you were that hard at that. I was gonna keep you down. Okay, wait a minute, where did Tucker go? Oh, would you join us? Where do you guys?
You have it. I was just emailing with her. Do you want me to text her?
Yeah, you would text her and I will email you did she send us the amendment?
Yeah. Or toward the 500.
David, did she send you? I don't see an amendment from her.
I think it probably has been sent to Exeter, right? It's getting it to adopt the very last bit, so I'm sure. Right.
It was, I was told it was edited by 7:45. It was edited by 5:15 AM. So, anyway, Tucker, wait, do we have to wait for Tanya to be here? What's the,
You don't have to as chair.
okay. Chair,
She could join remotely. She's not here yet. Okay.
she knew we were starting this event here.
Can you email it to me and I'll text it to her?
Did she email it to you? Where is it then?
I don't think anyone has it yet.
Except Tucker.
Well, email the Zoom.
I just
Hello.
have you, yeah, to your personal email.
So apologies, we're waiting for we're shifting gears to cannabis, and we have a cannabis amendment we heard sort of a preview to yesterday that I believe involves the D with the ability to purchase 2 ounces or less, that we would expunge that, which would face some challenges. Because it's 2 to 8 ounces. Yeah, absolutely. So before Tucker begins, I think this committee wants to wish you a good luck on this exciting new birth. We hope it goes swimmingly without any hitch. And we send you out into the second experience of parenthood with joyous expectation.
Buckle up.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited. Good morning to our Greater Assembly Legislative Council, but you can't get rid of me. I'm like a bad flea. You're not going to shake me off. I'll be back in a couple weeks.
I know,
More
but
tired than I am now, but I will.
you will be more tired because you're going from 2 to 1 to man defense.
It's cover 2.
Yeah. So,
To start from the top with something you just brought up, there was discussion.
I mean, in all fairness, she has discussed this event with us, so I feel comfortable.
There was discussion about expungement and raising the possession limit for purposes of civil violation. And that's where things got a little confused yesterday, which is that at the time that the regulated market opened up, the criminal penalties for almost all of possession were shifted to civil penalties, and there was expungement of criminal records at that time. So the concerns that were raised yesterday were actually solved for years. And there's nothing to expunge with the shifts in S-278.
Okay.
The only records that might exist related to some of this would be law enforcement records that are kept and subject to the Public Records Act, but that's a separate issue to deal with, which is what exemptions do we have and what confidentiality do we have around the types of investigatory records that a law enforcement agency keeps, regardless of whether it's civil or criminal. But it's not an expungement issue, and there's no necessary expungement amendment that you have to attach to the bill. The other issue that was raised was around consumption of cannabis in rental units.
Right.
Which is what the amendment currently addresses. So to be clear about consumption, it is broader, as you know by now, than just smoking lighted cannabis products. There is absolutely nothing in statute right now that prohibits a residential tenant from consuming cannabis, even lighted cannabis products, inside of their dwelling unit. That is all governed by the 4 corners of a rental agreement between the landlord and the tenant. Now, there were absolutely concerns that were raised at the time that the regulated market was being created around how this would affect the landlord's ability to restrict cannabis use within rental units. And because of that, there was this language added into 18 VSA 4230A that essentially said that the possession limits as they shift shall not be constructed by a court to require landlords to allow possession or use of cannabis inside of the premises they own.
So we didn't mandate it, but we still allowed landlords to say no.
Correct. What Senator Vyhovsky is proposing to do is to clarify that construction in 18 VSA 4230A to say that nothing in that section prohibits a landlord from banning the use of lighted cannabis or cannabis products in a lease agreement. And then to amend the residential rental agreement subchapter in Title IX to add a new section that prohibits rental agreements broadly from including provisions that would prohibit an individual from possessing or consuming cannabis within a dwelling unit, except for lighted cannabis products. That is still on the table for being prohibited on a landlord's property. So this is focused largely on prohibiting a landlord from, within the lease, broadly prohibiting the possession or use of cannabis, including, you know, gummies, edibles, non-lighted.
To include all the things that don't have an impact on the paint or paintings or the building. Tanya, welcome. We had to get going, but thank you. Thank you for this.
Yes.
Okay, so it's all sort of non-impactful consumption is what I.
Is the intent, yes, is that it's, you know, the stuff that doesn't impact the dwelling itself. So once the person moves out, the dwelling would be no different
Right.
because of the use.
Great. And so that's helpful. Thank you. Keisha.
Because I know that we've had this discussion for a long time. I definitely want this to move so people aren't doing something we say is legal on the one hand, but is prohibited on their rented premises. Does this align with other ways we draft rental agreement language? Someone was saying really you have to kind of put the onus on the land, like this prohibits them from including this in a rental agreement, but I think there's another alternative way to write it to be considered that just says, you know, you have to, the onus is on the landlord to express if cannabis is prohibited. So like if it's silent, they are able to do it if they, you know, I mean, some people have, you know, shared common areas or something, and they might say like, no illicit substances or no drugs. And I don't know if that then puts it back in a gray area.
Tucker, what are your thoughts?
The term premises is defined in Title IX, and this would allow an individual to consume anywhere within the premises, which includes grounds, common areas, ways, and their individual dwelling. You could pick out specific areas in the prohibition if that's a direction the senator and others wanted to go in with the amendment. You could also remove this language entirely and replace it with the language that you're bringing up. The issue that I would flag for the sponsor of the amendment is that the intent and request, as I understood it, was to ensure that landlords could not prohibit their tenants
Right.
from using non-lighted cannabis within their rental unit.
Right.
And I probably agree with even that intent. I just want to like anticipate what might come up on the floor because this is a tricky area of the law.
David.
So I agree with the intent of the amendment. And I respect the change we're trying to make. The only question I have is based on yesterday afternoon, walking down to find some food, and a guy with a vape, just a vape, breathing out his vape. This is not a lighted product. This is a non-lighted product. And it was, you know, big cloud of
Vape.
it was a vape, but it had like, you know, all kinds of smell and kind of like a bubblegum perfume kind of, and I'm wondering if that's an element of this thing that's not adequately addressed. Is that a lot of these products have even a vape have a smell, and I'm just wondering, whose side are we on here now? Because again, it's kind of like the knife edge between the landlord and the tenant. This one is It's not addressed here. Wondering where we should land. Because we
Tanya,
should land somewhere.
Tanya has a
Obviously.
thought.
Two thoughts. One to the first question from Senator Hinsdale. I do intend to make sure that people can use cannabis within the four walls of their apartment, but I actually am not opposed to allowing a landlord to prohibit that use in, say, common areas or like outdoor, out of the apartment. You know, I live in a condo that has a pool area that prohibits drinking, and I think that's fine. So if there is a way to shift the language so that it really applies to the four walls of where someone lives,
Yeah, they're private premises. That's it.
that would be okay with me.
Thank you.
In terms of the vapes, so cannabis vapes cannot be flavored, so they can only smell like cannabis. So I think it's a little different than the ones that you're talking about that smell like candy
Right.
and perfume. My preference would be to leave it just lighted cannabis, but if the committee feels strongly that they want to include vapes in that ability to prohibit, I would be sort of agnostic to that decision. So if it were left to me, I would do it as it is, particularly because the cannabis vapes won't have that same type of strong smell. But if the committee feels really strongly, I would.
I was given, I publicly will admit, I don't have an experience of actually comparing the smell of smoked cannabis versus vaped cannabis. So I don't know what the smell difference is. I have a very sensitive nose though. And so kind of an interesting experiment to have in this room.
Well, so I think the difference is the water vapor that hasn't been burned doesn't linger and doesn't into the walls. It's so smoked cannabis in all likelihood has that sort of smokiness that will linger. I actually personally don't use cannabis, but I have certainly been around the difference, and I think it's really the act of like lighting and burning it that creates the lingering impact.
Got it. Toss.
I'm generally supportive of this. I like the idea of not allowing the four walls premised and still allowing the landlords to be able to restrict it in common areas if that can be reflected in the language. I'm just gonna run this upstairs.
Thank you very much.
Where do you stand on vape?
I like the idea of allowing them to vape in their own premise. What I've seen of vapes is not nearly as toxic and as discoloring stuff. It just seems.
Right.
But I don't vape, so I don't know. Yield to those individuals.
Any other thoughts? David?
Potentially an incremental approach to this might be fair. That, okay, prohibit lighted cannabis, allow other cannabis, but I think in between is vapes, and I would go conservatively at first and prohibit the vape. The vape it's a vapor, settles on everything that's in the surrounding area. It's less
It's less impactful than smoking, so
but
that's,
it's still in
I
there.
do know that.
And I think that again, conservative approach, one step at a time. Well, institute this, but include the prohibition, lighted and vape.
Lighted and vapes.
Let's see how it works. 2 years
Um,
ago, revisit.
I personally like to try and harmonize where possible with what else we what we treat as smokeless versus non-smokeless. So I mean, I imagine now, I'm curious, maybe doesn't say it here, with other vapes, you'd have to spell out a prohibition of no vaping in your premises, if that was a problem. Like if you say no smoking, then that's pretty clear. But I think vapes are already, there's usually silence around tobacco vapes and I don't know what else kind of vapes there are. We saw one.
Well, we just had a whole bill and they can,
Can I recommend that? This is just my recommendation.
Yeah.
Include the vapes, let the House deal with it. Let them take testimony from landlords on tobacco vape impact or other lobbyists. And go from there.
so include in cannabis consumption, but they also include vapes. Or include vapes with smoking.
Include vapes with the smoking aspect. You know, let the house.
The opposite and let the house add it if it wants to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I'd sort of land on that and let the house will know this conversation has happened.
Because otherwise it appears as if we're making an endorsement when in fact we're not.
if we're, so,
With no evidence.
right, if we're silent on it, but say, can you take the issue up more?
Yeah.
Because we heard that when we try to bring vapes in, there's different kinds, there's different, it's
We've
like a
taken
whole
no
nother ballpark.
testimony and we
Yeah.
have no evidence, and so I think we should.
So they-
silence.
I'm happy to include this, let the house deal with the vaping aspect of it and move forward. We'll raise it. I mean, I have conversations with Matt prepping him for bills that are coming to him. Just like I'm hoping to have a moment with Tucker before the end of the day to discuss the alcohol bill that's coming in.
Oh, so this is your last day?
Yes, this is, you missed
For 2 weeks. or so.
I will be back next week all the way through Wednesday, however
Oh,
long
you're back next week?
the Senate and the body go.
I thought you had said this was your last week. That's why I did my little good luck.
Normally,
Well, I appreciated it either way. It'll carry me through early
Okay.
next week,
So we have you until when next week?
end of the day Wednesday, whenever
End of the day
that end is. Whatever that terminus point is. May I have screen sharing authority?
yes.
Thank you so much. Just want to make sure while everyone's here, that I have accurately captured the discussion for purposes of draft 1.3 of Simon's Negotiations. Should have brought my glasses.
Do you need some? The pair of mics, so I can always use. Want to pass these down to Tucker,
Here we go.
see if those help.
I am all set. Thank you very much.
Well, just try them. Maybe
I'll
they'll be
use
helpful.
them as a demonstrative prop.
They're a great prop.
Okay, so no vapes, so I didn't have to add that. I want to explain where the change is happening and why. So the discussion circled around focusing on the dwelling unit instead of the entire premises. So this now reads that a rental agreement shall not contain a provision that prohibits a tenant from possessing cannabis or cannabis products within the rental premises. I left that there for the following reason. If the only protection is for the dwelling unit, then the dwelling unit becomes an island where possession is okay. But every other part of the premises that the tenant has to pass through is a prohibited.
Right, so you need the premise.
So you need it to be the premises. Or using cannabis or cannabis products within a dwelling. So now you've zoomed in on use solely within a dwelling unit, which is a defined term within this rental agreement subject. Did I succeed?
I think so.
That is fine by me.
Can you bring it back up just for a second? Just couple words that I fully understand the intent. I just want to make sure when we get to the floor, we don't have somebody raise the English professor raise his hand. So the
You can
line
be very silent.
13, lighted cannabis or cannabis products. The word lighted refers to the first use of the word cannabis, but not necessarily the second use or after or. And I'm wondering if in fact, that the or cannabis products actually defeats the entire purpose.
If the intent here is that lighted qualifies both of the terms, I
believe it is.
will, yes. So lighted cannabis products would also fall under that. It would be things like your, what are the contact point, solid concentrates, gas, shatter. There we go.
Oh my God.
Shatter.
Good, if you want-
Because I was-
take a note of that.
Yeah, because I think what Tucker is saying, for those of us who are not hip, is lighted tobacco or tobacco products. It's also how we frame that language.
I just want to make sure it's very clear
Yeah.
that we don't trip over ourselves with that.
No,
Or,
hopefully that's clear.
Listen to more Chance the Rapper and you'll hear about some shatter.
Okay,
Shatter.
thank you.
Is there,
No, yeah, Brad.
is there a potential issue of complaint from a tenant who is anti-cannabis that the odor from the premises of an individual who is a cannabis user spills out into the halls and is offensive or objectionable to that tenant while walking down the car?
There can be within the four corners of the rental agreement, and I've seen this in my own instances in the past, terms around nuisances, right? Nuisance odors and odor control within, usually it's around, calls out things like cooking and
Often there are nuisance complaints about cooking. That's, I think, the most.
and music.
And music, right, of course, music. And many towns have music ordinances. I mean, have noise ordinances that music falls.
Well, eventually, what redress, if any, does that complaining tenant have when you have something constructed related to something like it?
Well, the overlap between those terms in a rental agreement, you can still have outside of what this specific section prohibits, terms around things like those noxious odors and nuisances, and tenant behavior and control of those things that spread outside of the dwelling unit.
The wonder, for example, out of the state's Kansas, issue of whether or not it is a problem, what they're not talking about, it's no problem. Also, there's no testimony I was in one way or the other.
And I haven't been able to research that. I just like wish I could offer help.
Okay, it sounds like we've landed this plane. General support of this amendment, thumbs up, okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So thank you, Tanya, you'll present it, Keisha will respond, and I think we have unanimous agreement. Thank you, Tucker.
Well,
And thank you, editors who were editing at 5:14 in the morning or whenever.
while Tucker's sitting to see Madam Chair,
Do we have another amendment?
this is the amendment you've already agreed to with the change that's in the calendar. I just don't want to surprise you. So it's listed yellow. It's everything that you all signed on to last week, but this will, I sent you
Yeah.
a note about. So as we had it
Just
in yellow,
remind
where
us.
it's conditionally applying these fee reductions if when it's allocated to cannabis business development fund and this
Right.
budgetary year. So
Yeah.
it's the condition to make pros finance happen.
And
Warren Pro's just deleted.
No.
no, I don't,
Because it's contingency language, so they can take the contingency language into the 20.
right.
Thank you for asking. I guess it's struggling.
Out for now.
Good job.
So much of the bill is out for now, but not forever.
Can I say a straw poll is 5-0 still on
Yeah.
this? Okay.
And to flag for you all the legal consequences of this, if $105,000 is not appropriated or transferred to the CBDF under the terms of this contingency, then the fee structure never takes effect. And that has to happen by July 1st, 2026. So this effective date also acts as a drop dead deadline,
So who's responsible for making sure that happens? CCB?
making sure that the appropriation happens. The General Assembly. If the General Assembly does not appropriate or transfer by July 1st, 2026, $105,000 to the CBDF, then this section never takes effect.
We don't need to do it mechanically. We need to do it in statute with passing budget.
Right.
So that has to be addressed in the budget. So actually this has to be addressed.
Has to be addressed in the budget or some other bill that moves money around.
Okay. Just to make sure I understand, our budgetary request was $1 million to the Cannabis Business Development Fund. So if we appropriate above $105,000 in the budget, the FY27 budget for the Cannabis Business Development Fund, this isn't, is it automatic that the first $105,000 would go to cover these?
If you
These
take a
are the
look
federal
at the last couple lines in that contingency language, it actually calls out that this has to be an appropriation for the purposes of covering the reduction.
Okay.
So this,
So this might be separate from a
is above,
base budget CBDF transfer. This is,
Right.
this has to be called out by the General Assembly. We are covering the $105,000 reduction in fee revenue.
Like an off the top, as we
Yeah,
so
say.
one of us is gonna have to track it and stay on top of it. And or,
I'll be tracking
And
the
all that.
other appropriation
Yeah, yeah.
for this, so I'm happy to do that.
thank you, we will delegate you to be chief appropriations advocate. Thank you, good problem. Sorokin, these are now just like constant, he always never remembered his classes. Keep up here just for him. in
Is the
case he shows
Band-Aid
up.
on the same finger?
It is, and it is not the same Band-Aid. I've been rotating, but I only seem to be in here with the polka dot bug Band-Aid.
I love those
So,
Band-Aids, these are great.
Yeah.
I had a lot of Star Wars Band-Aids, and Winnie the Pooh Band-Aid. Yeah, yeah, you go through that phase, you can't miss it. Band-Aids now are so boring that all revised.
My record-
Exciting band.
My records officer brain just immediately went into, I can't wait to get a copyright notice from Disney about this report.
Okay, I think we are set. I hope, does anyone know of any other amendments? We have 3 minutes to discuss any other amendments to either of these bills. No other amendments? Okay, good. I think these are good amendments, and so, this is good. Better than waiting to next year to fix them. We'll see what the House does. Do it all. Tucker, I would love to, are you fixing something? I would love to set aside some time so that we could prep for the alcohol bill. And if you're actually here Tuesday and Wednesday, might we book you to walk through the alcohol bill?
Yes, and I actually believe that might already be
Yes.
penciled in from a few weeks ago because I did flag during an agenda planning that
Yeah,
my last few
you did,
days
and
might be
I-
where the alcoholic beverages bill lands.
I don't know why I had you leaving today, but there we are. I did.
I mean, you're giving me 5 minutes notice of my termination.
All right, exactly. Not termination, just leave. And then from that moment on, there is no parental leave because once a parent, always a parent. It's the one gift forever.
You are here Wednesday, right? Gorgeous.
Thank you. So we're booking you in to walk us through the alcohol bill, which is, in a word, lots of things for consideration. Is it a big bill? A modest bill?
It is not a big bill to walk through.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I don't mean in terms of length. I mean, are there some heavy lifts in it or is it pretty standard?
About half of the bill is conforming cleanup within Title VII requested by the Board of Liquor and Lottery and PLL. There's the one change in there that actually was in a bill you introduced in the Senate that is the most substantive discussion, and that's about the retail tasting
The
location
wine,
and having higher serving sizes at those locations.
great. That's fine. The Deirdre Heakin amendment. Okay, great. Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay. Go. Thank you, Tucker. Have a great weekend in preparation. It was life change. We are gonna turn to finishing walking through the landlord tenant bill. So take a stretch, everybody. Why don't we go off live until Pam gets here?